Joseph is going to speak. I have 3 questions that I'm going to ask him to get started, but we are hoping that then you will ask him lots of questions, or me, at the end. So this is really his chance to shine. He's going to see if that microphone works.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Mm-hmm. All right. Do you want to introduce yourself before I ask the first question?
My name is Joseph Bullplume, and I'm a senior at Chief Fletcher High School, and I am in Teaching Academy this year.
Can you please talk about, as somebody who was in our very first internship cohort, what were your hopes and your concerns when you signed up for that internship class and before you started your first internship placement?
I'd say my hopes were really like finding what I like truly want to do, and I'd say I went down that path a lot more. And my concerns were like, how would I get to that, like what I want to do, and like how would I go down that path?
I'll add that almost every single student who was placed in an internship that first year and again this year freaked out about 2 weeks before they had to go on their internship and went to the counselor, I want out of this class, I don't want to do it, because they were so nervous about going and having to work and see what the working world was like. Okay. Second question, how did completing the internship change your future plans?
When I first went into there, I kind of went into the internship program thinking like, oh yeah, I've always wanted to be a mechanic, I'll like look into this, but when I really looked into it, I felt like that wasn't the thing I would want to do. And then I looked into other like careers and stuff, and then I found teaching, because I would always love helping my friends when we were doing work, and so I tried doing that one. And then that year for the internship, I got into a 5th grade classroom and I was TAing for them, and I really loved it. So I went into Teaching Academy this year. Now I'm in a kindergarten classroom TAing for them. And I've actually got accepted to Central, so that's where I'm going to be heading after high school.
Which kind of answers my final question, which was, what advice would you give to other high schoolers about internships?
Don't stop looking on what you want to do, because you might find what you like. You might think you know what you want to do right off the bat, but you never really know. So I would say just don't stop looking into what you want to do. That would be my advice.
Does anybody have a question for
Any questions?
Joseph or for me?
I think it's kind of 2 parts. Joseph, how did you find out about the CTE program, and what made you want to even consider it?
So when I was like at my 10th grade year, near the end of the year, when we were doing our like electives for the next year, like what kind of classes we want to do, I didn't really know what class I wanted to do, but I seen Intro to Internship, and I asked my teachers like, what was this, because I didn't know about it. And they were telling me like more, it's like what you want to do and like what career you want to get into. So I heard about that, and like I just wanted to look more into that, because I didn't want to like go into these other like band and all that type of stuff. I do like it. I was doing it all these other years, but I actually wanted to look into what I wanted to do after high school. And it really helped me out a lot.
Thank you. Nancy, sorry, I don't mean to take all the time there, but it's kind of related. So it's helpful because it's K through 12, but was there a concerted effort to let like middle school student age kids know about the program, or what's your outreach?
So she's asking about outreach and how we're making sure students know this is available. So the first year of the program, there were a few kids who asked to be in it, and I think Joseph was one of them. But we also just put kids in there because it was like, well, I think we're going to have this now. Let's put them in the schedule, and we would let them switch out if they wanted to. But it's much better when the kids are choosing to be in there. So after the first year of that, we thought, all right, now we want our students to know what the options are when they get to high school, because the 5 pathways are all pretty diverse, and they should be able to choose one that's the best fit for them. So there's 2 big initiatives in place for that. One is we've started doing a round robin every February before students start to build their schedule for the following year, where all of our 8th, 9th, and 10th grade students during one of our advisory periods travel to all 5 of the CTE classrooms, meet the teacher, and hear about what kinds of things you do in their class, so that they've seen the space and met the person and know a little bit about what those classes are. So that helps them choose rather than just default into something. The other thing is we have a program that we added in the last year called the School-Wide Enrichment Model, and we're using it to meet the requirement that we have gifted education. And the model is basically that you offer enrichment activities for all students, and then the ones who really shine or get excited about something, you give them extra in that area. It makes sense. It's a very human way of enriching. The person who is planning those activities, and this is for our 3rd through 5th and 6th through 8th students, makes sure that in the 10 options that are offered each time that kids get to choose from, that there's one to align with each pathway. So there's always an education one, there's always a medical one, there's always an AV one. Last time we had a food truck, and the 3rd graders got to learn how to work in a food truck and make change and make food and all, which was related to culinary, so that they are hearing about it from them on. Another little thing we did is I made sweatshirts the first year that say, what's your pathway, and have the 5 pathways in big circles on the back. And I gave them to everyone who would wear them. Have you seen them all over campus all the time?
Yeah.
You know the sweatshirts I'm talking about. And also to tribal council and the principals, and so that they'd be out in the community and people would become more aware of them.
Thank you.
Yes?
So you mentioned that you had to give up a couple classes like band and stuff for this
Well,
pathway.
like, I didn't necessarily have to, like, give it up because, like, I could have switched it out for leadership if I wanted to, but I like doing leadership and I like kind of helping out with that stuff. So I feel like I kind of did have to switch out band with it, but I felt it helped me more on focusing on what I want to do more than just kind of like going through high school. It helped me focus on what I want to do after high school, and I really like that.
Change your schedule and what kind of choices you have to make.
I don't like, oops.
No, we're good.
I don't really like know the requirements for like to be put into this class. I don't think you have to like, there's any like special requirements to be put in these classes. But I honestly, I think I like this one a bit better, like, cause it helps me focus more like on what I'm doing.
We do have a 7-period day, and that made a big difference. Part of that was because you have to have 24 credits to graduate, so if you have a 6-period day, which is more traditional, and you fail one class, then you're not on track to graduate. With the 7-period day, there's more room for that. We also don't offer a lot of other electives because CTE is taking up so much space. In Washington State, they consider a school a high CTE school if they have more than 20% of their students taking CTE classes, and this year we're at about 80%. So because part of it is because of the dual counting, part of it is because it's room in the schedule, and part of it is because the kids are wanting to try it out.
Did you say 80?
80. Yeah, of our high school students, yeah.
Got a question?
Yes, so I have a question, 2 parts. What are some of the top 2 to 3 things that adults do that support youth when they're in these kind of tracks? And the second part of that is, what are some of the, what are the biggest assumptions that are incorrect that adults make about youth and their interests or what they need to be supported in this type of education?
I feel like what they assume is like we will like instantly like get on that pathway that we know and just instantly start heading down that path. But I feel like with us it'll like we like sometimes we will go down that path and then we'll have that like that time where we just want to break off the path, or we just want to like have a time to where just kind of slow down and like look at all the other stuff. Is like, do I really want to do this? And the top 3 things I'd say like they really helped me with is they helped me with that internship class. Actually, it did help me get a resume done and how to like dress up for interviews, like what would be best for that stuff. So I feel like it helped me like set up on how to get a job really.
Can you talk a little bit about what kind of support after you were placed in the internship, the first one, you got from the internship teacher, Mrs. Kinney? What kinds of things did she do to help make sure you were getting a good experience? Can you
She
remember?
was always like keeping up track with all of her students. Like when I was in my classroom, in the 5th grade classroom, there every week, there's one day out of the week where she'd pop in there, like, see what's going on. Like, she was checking in with all of the students all around campus. Like, during that period, she'd walk around the whole campus, checking in with her students, making sure everything's going okay. So I feel like just having her there and checking in with me was a really big help.
I know in the Next Move program, which is similar in Tacoma, they have somebody full-time who's going around and supporting the mentors also. So they're not all educators, and so it's different when your mentor is a teacher who knows that they're teaching versus other places. So there's some preliminary training and check-ins, and then there's periodic feedback and evaluation stuff to make sure the students are improving and learning as the internship goes on.
Any more questions? We done?
So Joseph's been at Chief Leschi his entire,
Yeah, since preschool.
Since
I've been
preschool.
going to Chief Leschi. My grandpa is actually one of the people that helped like fund and build Chief Leschi. So I've been going there my whole life. Me and all my brothers. I have 5 brothers.
And when you think about the difference between your education there and what it would have been in a public school, or what, do you have friends who are in public school? Do you ever compare?
I've kind of like, I didn't realize it until like, I'd say about 5th or 6th grade, that like, I like took note that like one of my friends just came back from a public school because I was friends with him during elementary, and he came back during middle school. And I didn't realize that public schools, you like have to pay for your lunches a lot of the times, and you have to go through that. So I felt like we were really lucky that we didn't have to pay for lunches, or there's a lot of stuff we got really help with it, I should say.
So yeah, Chief Leschi provides door-to-door transportation for any student who's admitted. So the buses go house to house every day.
So yeah, sometimes the buses travel on average like 3 to 4 hours sometimes to pick some kids up. That's how long some kids are on the bus. Is about 3 hours because how far they're out, and then on the way back the bus is stopping to pick up kids, and it's like there's some kids that went here from Muckleshoot and they go to Chief Leschi.
And we provide free breakfast and lunch for every student every day, no matter what, and have for a while. So that's a big difference.
Yeah. That's what I didn't really like realize that we like are happy, like grateful for, is that we get those like free breakfast and free lunch every day. I didn't realize how like what's the word I'm looking for?
You took it for granted because it was just something you
Yeah,
always
it's
had.
just something I've had since I was like a little kid. So I
Right.
didn't
You
really
thought that's
think
what schools
about
did.
it. Yeah.
I know that. Did Washington pass free lunch for everyone? It was on the table. They were talking about it, but I don't think so. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then there's one thing. My older brother, I didn't know that in school districts, there's more than one school. Yeah, so he thought since with our school it was just one school, one district. I thought that was pretty funny.
I do know I've heard people say, are we doing the students a service to let them complete their education in this protected cocoon where their culture is at the center of everything we do? Because that's not what it's like out. And that's not what you can do in the large public schools where there's 65 different cultures represented, or more than that. But I think the formative years and learning all the things you need to learn as a child in a safe place is important, and if you can accomplish that. And that one of the things we also work hard to teach our students to do is become advocates, so that when they go out into the real world and they realize that there's going to be things that happen that don't feel right, they're going to, at that point, rather than accepting that this is the way the world is, they're going to know that that's not okay because they've never experienced that or rarely experienced that. And then they'll be able to advocate for change. So that's the hope. Yes?
A couple of questions, just one short one. With your 7-period day, do you have a longer school day than like other public schools?
Our school days end at 3:30. That's when our school days
Start at 8:30.
Yeah, start at 8:30.
Okay, so that's similar. It might be like 20 minutes or 25 minutes on the GPS. And then I guess my other question is, do you have any preliminary data on students who've gone through your CTE program? How many are continuing their education, whether that's at a technical school, 2 years, 4 years?
So
Are you seeing
we're working on getting that data because the program is so new. We've had one cohort graduate that had the option to take 2 years of CTE. So I am compiling that because we got a federal grant for our CTE program. They need all that data. So I will have it next year. And you've had 3 years of opportunity. Did you take CTE other than internship
I just had intro to internship last year, and that showed me teaching academy this year.
Okay.
So those are the 2 I've done.
At the teaching, how do you know that your internship is successful? Like, how do you judge success for
My judge in like success is really how you like working there. Is like, I like to judge it on like your performance and also how you like go, like do you want to show up there? Like do you like showing up there? That's how I think of it. It's like if you're like, oh, do I really want to show up there? Or like I don't want to go today, then it's probably not something you would want to do. But with me, I like going to helping out the kindergartners. I've gotten so used to that class, like they all love me when I go in. It's just, I like helping them out and working with them. It's really fun.
It's like he's a rock star when he walks in that room.
So similar, I think, to what the previous question was getting to. I work for the city of Tacoma, and we often assume that cost of living or data is what moves people. And so my question, I work with some of our programs through the pipeline for workforce development, and we think that demonstrating the cost of living, like in Tacoma for different sizes, paired with what certain careers pay, hourly or salary rates, hourly or salary rate, is something that speaks to people, motivates them. But as youth, do you think that type of data about cost of living as you mature, is that an incentive for what you choose to do or not do?
I feel like it sort of is, like it does kind of push you, like if you were liking this one pathway, but you look into like what you were saying, like how much it pays versus how much you're having to pay to actually live for housing and stuff, and it's a bit lower than some students I feel like would not go towards that pathway, even though they like it. They're gonna want to go to like, say, construction or something because it makes more money or like something like that. So I feel like that is a factor we would take in.
I know when our students do career research that the salary of that career is part of the data that comes up in the platform we use for doing that. Do you guys use Major Clarity when you were doing your career research?
Yeah, and we seen the pay for all of them and like how it, and actually this isn't in the CTE, but like in one of my other classes we were like writing down like if you were to have this job and get paid this much for so many hours, and we had this like list, and it was a whole bunch of like boxes checked off for like $200 for like groceries and like $1,000 rent and stuff, like a whole bunch of like check boxes, like, and how much you would make for 40 hours in a week or something, and then we would go through minusing off, seeing how much money we would have left over, just like that.
I have a question. Do your CTE classes lead to like a credential, like a certificate? Maybe you said that, but I'm not denying.
We do have food handlers cards and first
Okay.
aid in 2 of them, but we really focused on, so there's 2 kinds of CTE classes. They're exploratory and preparatory. And if they are preparatory, they either have to lead to an industry recognized credential or offer dual credit. And in Pierce County, getting a dual credit situation set up is pretty easy because we have an organization that makes it that we just sign up for the organization and send them the paperwork, and our teachers say, yeah, we'll teach those standards, and then they get dual credit. So we have had lots of kids earn dual credit.
Nancy, a couple of questions just to clarify my understanding of the internship program. It's a year-long program, and you said students self-select. Do they self-design those programs, the placements?
Yeah, and Joseph can talk to this too. So in the fall, when they're doing interview skills and writing a resume and learning all that, they're also doing career exploration, and they look at all of those different things. They can choose their internship based on the CTE classes they've taken. The very first year, that wasn't an option because they hadn't taken any. Or they can say, you know, this is something that looks really interesting to me. I haven't had any experience in it. This is what I'd like to do. We've had great support from the community in finding placements for kids. And the 7-period day also supports, so since the kids come from so far, it's very hard for them to do their internships after school, and most of them take the bus, they don't have transportation. So we've fiddled with their schedules to make them able to do an off-campus internship and made it be 2 periods and then go over lunch so that they can get there and have enough time to learn and still get back to campus and finish the day and take the bus home with everybody else.
And you
There-
provide all that transportation?
Yeah.
Awesome.
There was one student I knew that kind of like didn't really go into these like CTE pathways that they had. He wanted to become like this, I don't know, like he works on skateboards. I don't know the name of it, but he had the off-campus internship, and he'd go to the skate shop and he'd like be working there with them. And like I feel like that's kind of what you said. He picked his own thing, and he went and like created all of that. And I feel like he went off and did what he wanted to do, and I feel like that's really what that class is for, and I like that. I thought it was cool.
Nancy, another question. I know that each of your pathways have advisory boards. How do you select those individuals? And the other thing is, how do they advise you about the cultural connections?
So one of the requirements of CTE is that you have an advisory board of people who are currently working in the field to make sure that what you're teaching is in fact relevant to what kids will need later on. Because we picked 5 pathways that aligned with community industry, we were able to find people from the community for most of them. Our smallest advisory board is our medical careers, mostly because those people are so busy and have been for the last 3 years. And I get it. And so they've mostly just come virtually to meetings rather than in person. But our natural resources advisory board, every month I get another contact from somebody saying, can I please be on that board? And I say that to other CTE directors, and I'm like, people are asking you to be on your, and we have people from tribal fisheries, and we have people from the land, and just so that representation has not been hard. One of the issues we've run into is once the community realized what this program was and what it was doing, they wanted more pathways. They're like, we need construction, we need auto mechanic, we need, and we can't support that. That's just not. We're working on some partnerships with Tacoma, who's said, okay, we're gonna let your kids do some of our, which is great. And the tribe is working on some other things too. But because 5 is more than we can offer, and that's how many we're offering already. Yeah.
The partnership with Central Washington, where you're able to, like the students able to continue their pathway. Do you have other partnerships with local community colleges that allow for that kind of more of a seamless to certificate or?
Yeah, so natural resources classes are partnering. I think most of those ones are with Bates, and then Clover Park and Pierce also have a ton of connections for us. So we've used all 3 through the Pierce County Career Connect, or PC3, which is that central organization that helps us create those partnerships. And they've been good about if we wanted to offer something else, seeing if they can create one of those for us. And not in Pierce County. When you're not in Pierce County, each CTE director has to make that agreement, that articulation agreement with the school. And it's a lot of work because you have to coordinate with the professor and the instructor and all that. So having in Pierce County, the Pierce County Career Connect organization that does all of that and then lets all of the schools in Pierce County take advantage of those connections has been wonderful. I don't know that we've done a great job yet of showing the kids the power of graduating with some of those college credits. There's all kinds of research that shows if they graduate with some college credits, they're much more likely to go on to college, they're much more likely to finish college. The way I talk to kids about it is I say, you know, when you sign up for classes in college, they choose who gets to pick their classes first based on how many credits you have. So the more credits you have, the sooner you get to choose your classes. So if you go to a big college as a freshman with no credits, you're last in line to pick. And you're gonna get all those classes that are Saturday morning at 7 a.m. or the topics you don't want. But if you've got some credits already, then you get to move up in front of all of the people who didn't get any college credit. And I think that might motivate them, I don't know. But we're working on getting kids to see the value of these free credits. I mean, it saves you money and it saves you time because you don't have to take some of those distribution requirements when you get to school.
Are any of your internships paid? Do you guys pay kids while they're in?
We haven't done that yet. Down the road, we would sure like to. Because it's during the school day, it's a little bit tricky. So it would have to be somebody who ends up doing something out. We are, we have a student who's driving herself to her internship every day, and we're reimbursing her for mileage using but that's the closest we can get to that now.
Are we doing things during the summer at all?
We are partnering with Tacoma to do things this summer, we hope, as soon as we get some kids to sign up. Yeah. Yes.
Hi, I have a question for you. So you're on track for the coordinated space and representation in each of the field grades. So I kind of have two questions here, and apologies if this is repetitive. So in what ways that you value the most do your mentors in the internship connect back to learning about community and your native heritage? And how would you incorporate that in your practice?
Like I feel like with there is like on when I go to the elementary side, there is a lot of like when we're like the ABCs that they have on the wall, like those pictures and like counting up. There will be the regular stuff, and then there will be like our tribal letters, and then our like the numbers and stuff. And it's like we're also teaching our students like how to count like in the kindergarten 1 through 10 in 12 suit seed, and how to like pronounce ourselves in 12 suit seed. I think that's really cool. It's like, and in our culture classes, we were learning a dance. Actually, I think it was yesterday we were in there, and then they were learning one of our new like salmon songs, and we were learning the dance up there, and we were learning in the culture classroom, and every week there's like a 30-minute time for them to go to culture, kind of learn about that, and then they head back to class and kind of go on to like, I'd say it's usually near the end of the day after their recess.
Do you feel like you would incorporate things like that or activities like that in your future educator? Or like
Yes, I feel like I really like this because it's showing me like stuff I could also like imply to when if I do become a teacher, like when like I'm having my own classroom or something. I'm kind of taking a hint from all like the internships I go to, like the one I'm at right last year. She had this every time the students went in at the beginning of the day. They would sign their name on this paper at the beginning, like right when they walk in. It's kind of like repeated motions of them like keep on doing the same thing every day and keep them on track with it. And it's like I feel like having that type of stuff in the classroom would really help. Anything else?
One of your earlier first slides outlined that you collected input
Yes.
from various community members. I was curious what the process looked like, in particular to get input from students and families. And then Joseph, if you have any thoughts on how input feedback from students in particular is.
One of the traditions at Chief Leshai is each month we have a parent dinner when families are invited to come to campus and have a meal together. And we often have tables lining the hallway outside the cafeteria where the meal is with information booths and things like that. And that's a great way to share information with the community and also to gather information from the community. And those parent dinners are a tradition that I think is a lovely tradition. And the food is usually really good too. Do you?
I was gonna say that too. The parent dinners we have one every month, and it's honestly a good thing to like get your like when your parents go there, the teachers are like it's kind of like we have these circle tables on one side of it, and then there's these tables on the other side. It's kind of like the teachers sit on this side, and like all the family stuff sit on this side. So it's like whenever a teacher will want, they could just go over, talk with the family, see if they like talk about their student or something, if they're needing help or something. And there's also a thing to get the parents kind of keep on going there. We have a raffle there every time, and it's kind of like you could win different prizes, so that keeps the like everybody there. It gets like the whole cafeteria will get full, like packed, and there's over I'd say like 200 people there every time. That's a good amount of people. I feel like the parent dinner is our best way to like get information about it.
I'll also add that our school board is very connected to the community. One of the requirements, so tribal council appoints our school board, different than public schools. It is a requirement that all school board members be parents of an active student. So if your kid graduates and that's your last one, then you're not on the school board anymore. I love this rule because in my previous district, the school board was a launching pad for people who wanted to go into politics, and they weren't there necessarily to help the kids. They were there for themselves, and that changed the flavor of everything, and that is not the case with our school board. They are listening to other parents, they have kids in the system, they know what the issues are, and they care deeply
Yeah,
about the
my
success.
grandpa is
And
one
his
of the
grandpa's on the school board,
school
yeah.
board.
Yeah, there's a law we could change, right? Do you think we can make that happen for the whole state? I think we're supposed to be wrapping up. Please fill out your surveys. We would love some feedback. We're close. But I would also like to ask everybody to give Joseph a hand for taking some time out. When I told him, I said, I know you're comfortable on a microphone, but I don't know how many people are going to be in the room, and you're not going to know any of them. So, and he's just so graceful and articulate. So thank you. We'll hang around if you have questions. Thanks for coming.